on, new episodes of The View when she tries to pull the race card.
Yes.
And then she's like, America is racist. And then they're like, yeah, they might be racist, but they're not like slave owner racist. like somebody
That's so true.
Yeah.
One thing, and I would have even actually not give her any is she said, well, I guess that's just what they did back then.
Yeah.
She should have followed that up with saying something along the lines of, and I understand that that's a departure from the way I've talked about this before.
Gutfeld wasn't satisfied with just landing the joke, even though the punchline hit hard and the crowd roared with laughter. He saw the moment as an opportunity to call out what he viewed as obvious hypocrisy. According to him, situations like this revealed the dangers of identity politics, showing how a person's credibility can collapse when their personal story doesn't align with the reality of their background. Sunny, who often builds her arguments around historical responsibility and systemic injustice, has been vocal about the importance of people confronting the actions of those who came before them. Yet, in this case, she appeared to overlook the controversy tied to her own family's history. For Gutfeld, this wasn't just about pointing fingers. He stressed that conversations about race and history require a delicate balance of honesty and empathy, as well as the ability to hold oneself accountable. By his account, failing to apply the same standards to yourself that you demand from others only weakens the argument you're trying to make.
And it is funny. She's so wrapped up in identity and she had no idea who she was.
Well, now we understand why she always makes Whoopi get the coffee.
Exactly, because if she is shaming descendants of this, will she continue to do that when she is now one of...
As Gutfeld pointed out, voices like Sunny's often risk leaving out uncomfortable truths when they frame complex issues strictly through the lens of identity. The EMP revelations didn't just highlight her ancestors' involvement in a system she passionately criticizes, it also showed her reluctance to fully acknowledge that reality. Instead of grappling with it directly, she seemed to brush it aside, minimizing its weight. That contrast struck a chord with many people. To them, it felt like a clear example of what happens when claims of moral high ground collide with facts that tell a different story. For Gutfeld, it wasn't just about Sunny as an individual, it was about a larger lesson, how public outrage and dramatic rhetoric can sometimes overshadow personal accountability. Once details about Sunny's family history spread online, the conversation exploded. Social media lit up with heated debates, countless memes, and a flood of jokes. One of the most viral quips summed up the mood with biting humor. Reparations? Let me go ahead and write that check to myself. Twitter and TikTok quickly became battlegrounds where the incident dominated discussions. Sharp opinions, sarcastic takes, and relentless memes kept the story circulating, making sure it stayed at the top of people's feeds. The online response showed just how quickly contradictions in public figures' narratives can fuel both criticism and comedy.
In her defense, everyone has ancestors that did unspeakably horrible things. It's just that not everyone's ancestors have records tied to their DNA about it. But I'm more worried for Sunny Hostin's progeny in the future that do a DNA test and find out that they were related to a cast member of The View. And they're like, oh, it all makes so much sense now why I'm so stupid and fat.
Many people noticed the contradiction right away. While some defended Sunny, saying she should not be judged for the actions of her ancestors, others argued that public figures like her should be held to the same moral standards they demand from everyone else. What frustrated critics most was how quickly she seemed to dismiss her family's history, brushing it off as little more than a fact of life. This struck many as ironic, since Sunny has built much of her public image around holding others accountable for injustices of the past. That irony ensured the outrage didn't fade quickly. The debate carried on for weeks, with many insisting that her reaction lacked the reflection and growth expected from someone so outspoken about accountability. The fallout also spilled into The View. When Sunny's ancestry was mentioned, the show's usual lively back and forth fell into an uncomfortable silence. Even Whoopi Goldberg, known for her quick humor, seemed at a loss for words. The moment stood in sharp contrast to Greg Gutfeld's panel, where the same story sparked waves of laughter and sharp commentary. His co-host didn't hesitate to turn Sunny's predicament into jokes, underlining what they saw as her double standards. Their humor only added to the damage, further weakening her moral authority in the eyes of many viewers. One critic even quipped that Sunny would now have to start shaming herself if she truly wanted to apply her principles consistently. Meanwhile, Rosie O'Donnell offered a calmer and more measured take, suggesting the situation called for reflection rather than mockery. Still, the episode highlighted how quickly credibility can be shaken when personal history collides with public stances.
There's nothing worse than to find out you're a white woman.
She's so disappointed.
It's really disappointing.
Her mother was white.
Oh my god.
shame.
Oh my god.
The horror. It's PBS, I think, show about your history, and finds out that this is fantastic. She is descended from slaveholders. She's descended from slaveholders, and she's been apparently getting a lot of mail about her call for reparations, because it turns out she's going to be paying them and not actually receiving.
Rosie O'Donnell pointed out that identity politics can sometimes oversimplify complicated issues like race and history. She emphasized that people should be judged by their actions, not by the choices of their ancestors. Her perspective opened the door to a broader conversation about how moments like this can challenge expectations and push people into uncomfortable but necessary self-reflection. Public reaction to Sunny's situation was divided. Some saw it as a chance to re-examine personal responsibility, while others viewed it as another example of identity politics backfiring. For many, Sunny's quick dismissal of her family's past felt like a missed opportunity. Rather than pausing to acknowledge the irony or spark a deeper conversation about ancestry, accountability, and moral complexity, she brushed it off as nothing more than reality. This casual rejection left many people disappointed. Sunny could have used the moment to discuss the tension between her family history and her public values, turning it into an honest reminder that no one's past is without contradictions. Instead, her reaction was seen as hypocritical, reducing what could have been a thoughtful discussion into another controversy about responsibility. The public response made this clear. Viral memes spread online, and Greg Gutfeld's sharp commentary only amplified the sense that Sunny had undermined her own moral authority. Her situation became a cautionary tale. When you demand accountability from others, you must also be ready to face it yourself. In the end, Sunny's reputation will depend on how she chooses to handle this moment. If she confronts her family's history with honesty, it could strengthen her credibility. If she continues to dismiss it, the perception of hypocrisy may linger for a long time. Recently, Sunny Hostin made headlines, but this time it had nothing to do with her fiery takes on The View. The spotlight has shifted to her husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, and he isn't happy with the attention. Dr. Hostin, a respected orthopedic surgeon and the head of Hostin Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, is now caught in the middle of a major legal storm. Surprisingly, this case doesn't involve mobsters or crime families, but medical professionals. At the center is the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, better known as RICO, a law originally designed to take down mafia operations. This is no ordinary lawsuit. With accusations of insurance fraud, illegal kickbacks, and a sweeping RICO case involving around 180 defendants, it has quickly become one of the most explosive scandals in recent memory. Doctors, surgeons, and other medical experts are now under the microscope. According to the lawsuit, Dr. Hostin and others allegedly took part in a scheme that abused the healthcare system for profit. The claim is that they accepted improper payments in exchange for performing unnecessary medical procedures and submitting inflated insurance bills for treatments that may never have taken place at all. Picture this: patients receiving surgeries they didn't need, insurance companies footing massive bills, and money quietly passing hands behind closed doors. It paints a disturbing picture of corruption inside a field that people rely on for their health and safety. And that's what makes this case so alarming. It's not just about money. It's about trust, responsibility, and the lives of patients who believed they were in good hands.
If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sunny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked, and you went on stage with it, and it's nothing.
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there.
Many of the patients mentioned in the complaint raised serious concerns. Did they really need knee or shoulder surgeries, or were they unknowingly caught in a money-making scheme? If the allegations are true, this case could become one of the most shocking medical scandals in recent memory, rivaling even the most dramatic soap opera plots. Think about it. You put your trust in a doctor only to later discover you might have been used as a pawn in a scheme driven by greed. That kind of betrayal doesn't just cause physical or financial harm, it shakes the very foundation of the patient-doctor relationship, which is supposed to be built on trust and care. But the controversy doesn't stop with doctors. Insurance companies, often painted as victims in these cases, are not always innocent themselves. They have a long history of being accused of denying legitimate claims, underpaying doctors, and manipulating loopholes to protect their profits. In this case, the insurers say they were cheated out of millions by paying for procedures that were either unnecessary or may not have happened at all. This leaves a big question hanging in the air. Is this lawsuit a genuine attempt to root out corruption in healthcare, or could it also be a tactic by insurance companies to deflect blame and avoid their own financial responsibilities? As more details come out, the public will be left to decide which side of the story to believe. With so much money, power, and credibility on the line, the truth will be anything but simple. The unfolding legal and media firestorm surrounding Dr. Host exposes not only the fragility of professional reputations, but also the increasingly blurred line between courtroom strategy and public perception. Daniel Thwaites, his attorney, wasted no time deploying a familiar defense tactic: discredit the plaintiffs by framing them as opportunists seeking financial gain rather than justice. While this maneuver is common in litigation, it inadvertently shifted the spotlight toward a broader hypocrisy festering in the public arena. The irony deepened when figures like Sunny Hostin, long viewed as a self-assured voice on medical matters because of her marital ties, came under fire for potentially ignoring her husband's questionable practices. Joe Rogan's critique amplified this contradiction, using his platform to dismantle the aura of moral superiority that Sunny projected. By pointing out the gap between her rhetoric and possible complicity, Rogan tapped into a cultural frustration with public figures who brand themselves as advocates of accountability, yet fail to embody those standards in private life. What makes this moment particularly volatile is not merely the lawsuit against Dr. Host, but the symbolic unraveling of trust in personalities who merge professional authority with public moralizing. If Sunny knew of her husband's actions and continued to leverage her platform, she inadvertently undermines the very cause she claims to defend. This is where the story transcends legal drama. It becomes a referendum on credibility in an era where audiences are more cynical, less forgiving, and quick to call out hypocrisy. As the case drags on, the public will not only judge Dr. Host in the courtroom, but also reevaluate who they elevate as moral role models, forcing uncomfortable questions about whether perceived integrity is genuine or just another carefully constructed performance.